Welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everybody. I know it's basketball season, but spring football has kicked off around the country, which got me thinking about the new Pac 12. Getting a little bit excited here. I wanted to take a look at the scheduling operations for the upcoming season and what it means for some of the respective teams in the conference. For those of you who are new to the show, my name's Nick Bartlett, and I'm a senior writer here at Super West Sports, as well as at OregonSportsNews.com. I've had my work featured in a number of different publications. And I also coach youth sports at Lakeside Middle School and St. Thomas School in Seattle. I'm going to be the Pac-12 guy here at Super West Sports, so I'm just generally excited to talk about the conference. I'm a Wazoo guy, so alum of the great Cougar Nation. But no, I'm pretty excited to talk the Pac-12 here. So got a lot of love for the conference, and with that, let's get to some scheduling stuff. The basics. Before we dive deeper, let's just get straight to the basics. Each team will play a 4-game non-conference schedule. That's pretty obvious how that works out. I don't think I need to explain that any deeper. For teams in this league, it's an opportunity to bolster their resume. The Pac-12 may be considered a Power 4 conference, but it's not. And this is one thing I just want to say. I think objectively, a lot of people want to fight for their team, and I respect that. But the new Pac-12 is not a Power 4 conference. It's definitely a step up from the other mid-majors, but we're lying if we think it's an elite conference. And I can't sit here and honestly tell you that it is. But bottom line, it offers a direct path to the college football playoff, and that's all that really matters, because if you're in the college football playoff, you got a chance. So I just want to make that clear. That's reality. Hopping forward here after I probably upset some people, whatever. This year's non-conference slate feels vital to the Pac's growth because it's the first impression. If teams like Fresno State, Wazoo, and Boise State all get blown out in week one, it'll be hard to recover. They all got pretty meaningful matchups. They're going against the Bulldogs, Cougars, and Broncos are going against USC, Washington, and Oregon. So it's going to be a pretty emotional week, you'd think, taking on the old Pac-12 Blue Bloods, particularly with USC, Oregon, and Washington. I mean, those are the three dominant teams here in the West Coast over the past, I want to say 50, 60 years. Maybe Oregon, Washington the last 20, 30, but immediate chance to make a statement, that's for sure. But let's triangulate back. I told you sometimes my passion takes over. Let's get straight to the notes here. So weeks 1 through 4 will be the non-conference games. Already touched on that. Weeks 5 through 12, the 7 conference matchups with one bye week in between. And week 13 is going to be this flex week concept. It's new to college football. I'll dive into the kind of deep details of that later, so we'll touch on that later. Yeah, more on that to come, people. For this inaugural season, 5 of the league's 12 matchups are against Power 4 opponents. And this is just an opportunity right from the get-go. As I mentioned, we talked about USC, we talked about Oregon, we talked about Washington. If we get blown out, the new Pac-12 gets blown out in all those games, it's going to be hard to rebuild the reputation in week 1. So you need Wazoo to step up. You need a Boise. You need a Fresno State to step up. I believe it's those 3 teams. Along with the 3 previously listed matchups, Texas State is on the road against Texas, and Oregon State travels to Houston. So these are just huge contests for the conference, and it doesn't give a lot of opportunity for feels and figure it out. You need to represent this conference immediately, or else it's going to be bad. Plain and simple. Nothing else to really say there. Toughest schedules, even though it's early, 2 teams definitely have the toughest slates this season. The lucky 2 are going to be Oregon State and Utah State. Both teams face some difficult non-conference opponents and really just some untimely conference scheduling, making matters a little bit worse here. Who are we going to start with? The Beavers travel to Houston. And the opener, I guess we're starting with the Beavers. And then, let me circle back, talking over myself here. The Beavers travel to Houston in the opener and then host Texas Tech the following week. They should be able to pick up some wins against Montana and UTEP before the Pac-12 kicks off. And then they also get a winnable contest against Colorado State. But then things get tough again. They play 4 of the projected top teams in the conference over 6 weeks. They get San Diego State, WSU, Fresno State, and Boise State during the stretch with 1 bye week in between. The other team, so looking at Oregon State, you think – I'm going to go back to that before I just jump ahead of that. I think realistically they could compete against a team like Fresno State. I don't think OSU is that bad. I think last year they just lost a lot of really, really close games, and it just wasn't working. no other way to say it. It just didn't work out under Trent Bray. So hopefully, Trent Bray over at Wazoo now, able to, maybe redeem himself a little bit, and the Beavers hopefully able to build their program up a little bit. Bottom line, I think they can compete against Fresno State. WSU with Kirby Moore, I think it's going to be a little too tough. I think they've been doing a good job recruiting. Certainly not on the level of Boise State yet. And again, when we're saying that, it feels pretty tough for me, Oregon State against Boise. So that 4-game stretch could really kick their butt. And then again, going back to that non-conference schedule, it was I don't even know who it was. Let's go for it. No, it's Houston and Texas Tech, I believe, but do not quote me on that. I think it was Houston week 1. The other really tough schedule here is going to be Utah State. They're playing their tiny violins out here. They're going to travel to Washington and Utah in the non-conference. This really just doesn't give them much time to replace Bryce and Barnes. I mean, Barnes did everything for them last year. They had such a dominant offense, and you usually need a bit of time to replace a player like that. That's not going to happen when you have Utah and Washington in your first 4 games. So that's going to be really, really tough to replace. They opened their season against Idaho State, which is a must-win. I mean, obviously that's a must-win, but it's a must-win more than usual. And then they host Troy 3 weeks later. So they got to take down Troy. They got to take down Idaho State. Sometimes it's not getting the big splashy wins. Sometimes it's taking care of business where it needs to be taken care of. And Utah State needs to take care of those 2 games, or else their season's lost from the beginning. Just like the Pac-12 in week 1 if they don't boss up. Kind of a lot of synchronicities there in that light. In Pac-12 play, they start in Boise, which, as mentioned, is still the front runner of the league, the best team in the league, and no one wants to go to Albertson Stadium in the middle. I guess it's not that cold yet, but on the blue and face that team to open conference. Boise's the front runner of this league. No other way to say it. Really worst case scenario. And then they host Washington State, as we touched on. Got some returning players and a really good coaching staff, looking promising with Kirby Moore. So you're thinking that the Cougars are going to be improved, at least a little bit better than Oregon State for sure at this point. So you're looking again, just with the Beavers, with the Aggies, it's going to be pretty tough. The schedule lightens a little bit over the next 2 weeks, but then they host Fresno State and travel to San Diego for back-to-back matchups. So Utah State also just has a really, really tough slate there with Washington, with Utah, then opening Pac-12 play with Boise, then hosting Washington State, and then the Fresno State and San Diego State matchups down the stretch. So you're going to have some pretty tough. I can't sugarcoat it, guys. I'm trying to sugarcoat a little bit. If you're Oregon State and Utah State, you need to come to play, or else the season could be lost quickly, and that's not what you want to happen in the first year in your new conference. So best of luck to your squads, but the scheduling guys made it real tough on your respective teams. Getting to the flex week here, I think it's a revolutionary concept in college football. Didn't really understand it at first, but kind of enjoying it. The gist is that the Pac-12 has the opportunity to change matchups that benefit the conference in week 13. So basically, if they have a team that they think is going to make the college football playoff, they're going to try and plug them in any way possible. Make that simple. I try and be a man of few words. Say Boise State's like 11-1 this year, you're going to send them, I don't know, maybe let me get through the notes here before I kind of get through the who's and what's and all of that. For this season, here's what we know so far. Utah State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and Washington State will host a matchup this week. This ensures that every team in the conference gets 4 home games against Pac-12 opponents, as well as 6 total home contests. If these games were to be played today, the matchups would be Boise State versus Utah State, Texas State versus Colorado State, SDSU versus Fresno State, and Oregon State versus WSU. The other rule within this concept is that no team can play at the same venue twice during the regular season. Kind of like that, kind of keeps things fresh. This model should create really rivalries akin to the old days. You're going to have a smaller conference, and I'm going to circle back on that note here. But really, you're going to have a gritty kind of new times in the old school feel here in the new Pac-12. And it could prove special. When my Cougars were initially, and this is where I go completely off the notes and just rant for a little bit. When my Cougars were initially left out of the conference, and I'm sure Beavers fans felt this, it felt like a demotion. And obviously, again, there are higher levels of football. I touched on this in the beginning. To say that the Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, ACC aren't higher levels of football is lying. But they're also not real conferences anymore. The ESPN can tell you what they want. ABC can tell you what they want. But these are 16 teams, and you're having random games like Washington versus Maryland, and then they play each other every other year. That's not a rivalry. That's not college football. That's a joke. We may have a little bit less talented players, but we have 8 teams that'll actually play each other. Play each other. You hear that? They'll actually play each other. Rivalries are going to form. Uh, People are going to not like each other, and it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. The regional rivalries actually make sense. I mean, Washington to Texas is a bit of a excuse me there. Washington to Texas is a bit of a push, but I mean, the old Pac-12 was Washington to Arizona, so Washington, Texas isn't that crazy. The region is pretty realistic, and again, 8 teams. I'm really liking this new Pac-12 feel, and this is something that I'm excited to be a part of as a Cougar fan. And let me get to my conclusion here before I just completely talk and realize that it's still basketball season, and we are still about only in spring football and 12 months, not 12 months away. I've never been the best at math. We're like 6 months away from the first football game, something like that. Bottom line, let's get to conclusion here. And really just the flex week, to simplify it to the max, essentially the conference is going to do what's best for the conference to get as many teams in the college football playoff or bowl games as possible. And this is going to set up some good, meaningful matchups that are going to draw money in week 13. Looking at, let's take us out now. I've said that 4 times, but then I keep adding notes because it's fun. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, everybody. I really do appreciate the support. And, I just have fun talking college football and doing this. So appreciate the support. I will try and create as much content as I can during the off season, but I'm also trying to get these dubs as a coach out here. Basketball season was rough with one of my teams, so we're hoping to make up for it in the volleyball season. And for the Pac-12 scheduling operations, the main takeaway points are weeks 1 through 4 will be the non-conference games. Weeks 5 through 12, the 7 conference matchups with 1 bye week in between, and week 13 will be the flex week. And also remember to tune in week 1. 5 of the league's 12 matchups are going to 5 of the league's matchups against ranked opponents are going to take place this week. It's going to be vital. And again, you got an opportunity to take down the Blue Bloods of the Pac-12 and USC, Oregon, and Washington. There would be no better way to start a new conference with people who left you than for Fresno, Boise, and WSU. I think those are the 3 teams. If not, don't quote me. We're at the end of the show here. Whoever it is, let's take down those Blue Bloods. And bottom line, we have opportunity to represent ourselves from the very, very beginning. And to dominate and kick ass. And I think it should be a heck of a lot of fun. So that's pretty much about it. Until next time, keep being you.